those situations where police have a lot of options out there. They got a lot of discretion. Do I give you the ticket, the citation, or do I lock you up? We haven't even gotten into those kind of stats. People have hovered over it, and they talk about that's where, again, the racism comes in, how they enforce the law. And what did Dr. King say? Talking about laws that are unjust. People have a right, to protest those laws, which is what these people are doing out here on the streets tonight. I don't think D.C. police, again, and I think I said this before, are prepared to arrest large numbers of people violating the curfew. I don't think D.C. police nor the mayor want that image. They don't really see a need for it. And the only reason they extended the curfew is because they gave people a little rope. They gave people, some leeway, and they took advantage of it. And so she was doing just what she had to do. But again, I go back to what I said before, all this just left an opening for the president to do what he felt he needed to do to get what he wanted out of this, and that is the show of force. This started when he was talking to the governors today, and he was called out, by a governor who let him know, I didn't appreciate your language. You're not helping, the situation. You're adding fuel to the fire. And the president, he hit right back at the guy in Trump form saying, and I don't like the way you've been talking, how weak you are. And then he proceeded to blast all of the governors. The Republican governor of Massachusetts tonight has really blasted the president, for his actions this evening. President probably on Twitter later on will have some words for him also.
I want to point us to a tweet from Joe Biden. It came out about 2 hours ago, so just an hour before we heard from President Trump. But he says this, kind of speaking specifically to the demonstrations tonight, that in this moment, the very soul of America is at stake. We must commit as a nation to pursue justice with every ounce of our being. We have to fully make real the American promise that all men and women are not only equal at creation, but throughout their lives as well. Right now, you are looking at what it appears to be a standoff between police and protesters right now. A pretty lengthy line, about almost what the side of a street there, of police right now in a line. What they will do next, we don't know. But we know that in some cases, we've seen the demonstrators retreat, especially as we were made aware sometime later that President Trump would be making his way to St. John's Church for what appeared to be a photo opportunity. But the demonstrators, as we've heard from our colleagues on the ground, Adian Datil, Mike Valerio, Nathan Baca, the people that they've spoken with have been very clear that they are not deterred by the flashbangs. They are not deterred by the tear gas or the authorities. They are committed to drawing attention to what is, for many families, a serious issue of unequal treatment and police brutality that appears to have an unequal impact on families of color. And so what we're seeing today and what we've seen over the last 3 days is a nation that is, as my mother liked to say, sick and tired of being sick and tired. And now we're starting to see that action and that tiredom, so to speak, manifest in this demonstration that we're seeing this afternoon. What this will look like as we approach 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock remains to be seen. But if Sunday and Saturday are any indication of what the night will bring, it will be a long night for all of us. Let's get back to Adian Datil right now. She has been talking with people on the ground there. Adian, what are you learning?
Hey, Larry, what I'm really seeing, there aren't a lot of protesters right here anymore, but there is a perimeter. Ferlin, if you could do a pan all the way around, you can see a perimeter of police at every single corner. I'm at McPherson Square right now. 8th and Vermont, packed. Move to the right, packed. Move farther to the right, you're starting to see groups of protesters on the other side of McPherson Square. That's where I'm gonna head. Ferlin, come with me. It seems, and I tried to get answers out of a police officer, asking them, are you going inch by inch through the city, coming toward the center? He said, I can't confirm that right now, but what I am seeing is protesters being pushed out farther toward this part of the city. I wish we could have a helicopter in this shot, because I guarantee you would see a perimeter around, and it seems like it's just getting smaller and smaller. Yeah, that's what I suspected.
Adian, thank you. We've been following, of course, another night of unrest here in D.C., really defiance and devastation in the city, as you see people out with a message that they want to be heard, which is that they won't tolerate injustice anymore. And they've decided that they tried talking and have tried to and you see police advancing in this shot.
Through McPherson Square.
This is getting close to McPherson Square, and yes, we see these lines sort of set up and moving throughout downtown. It's sort of all over. And so even though this curfew is in effect, clearly they have prepared for a long night.
Mayor Bowser was clear in her news conference earlier today that what we saw yesterday, that they were committed to making sure we did not see today. And as we can clearly see from police, that they are taking a much more aggressive posture tonight than what we saw yesterday. And these are images right now coming.
Could you guys ask
from the White House? Yes, Bruce?
This is important. Can you guys ask Adian what police force is that? Are those, okay, here's the DC police. Wanted to know if those are DC police, uniformed Secret Service. We have so many different police agencies here. Okay, DC police now arresting people. And that was my question, because outside of that federal enclave, Connecticut and I and these places, that's DC police territory. Be highly unlikely to see other police agencies, stepping in, arresting people there. So, I'm told DC police have started to arrest people.
And we're seeing that here in the video that we're airing right now, just outside of the shot that you see right here. We could see there appeared to be some arrests already going into the evening. 8:18, an hour and 18 minutes past the curfew that's in place in the city. There's engagement between.
They need their own.
All right, let's listen.
What we want for real is gonna take me to go home is a 10-point program from the Black Panther. That's what's gonna make me go home. But once we follow those, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna be safe and I'm gonna be happy. Until then, fuck America.
And we ain't going home.
And we ain't going home.
Again, I do apologize
for that, Leslie. But I do want to share what he was saying. He says all day he's been here peacefully protesting, and he feels like he retreats from the police when they ask him to, and then the police move a street forward, follow them another street, just like I was saying to you. And he said that he would not feel comfortable ending this protest until he doesn't see his black and brown brothers and sisters feeling the negative effects of society. He said he doesn't want to see them homeless on the street. He doesn't want to see them strung out. And what he wants to see is some progression in society so that every day when he wakes up, he feels safe. That is what he wants. And honestly, Leslie, I was saying this to Larry earlier, that is a sentiment that is being echoed across DC. Back to you.
People want to be safe. Adian, tell us a couple things, just sort of where are you and the police entity that's formed that perimeter there, who are they with?
Yep.
Are those DC police?
They just started, that's all.
Let me get a closer look. Yes, we have DC police. They are moving their line from McPherson Square over to 10th and Vermont. They're asking us to move, so we are going to run because we do not want to be in the line of any pepper spray.
Get to a safe place, Adian, and we'll talk to you once you get someplace safe.
Very peaceful throughout the day. But as I suspected, Leslie, this is street by street. We've now been pushed back 3 separate times. And how many people are here? About 30 people, 40 people in terms of police officers. And they're very clear. Every time they want you to move, they say, get back, followed by about 10 seconds of full force movement forward, pushing anyone back. But as you can see, there's hardly anybody here.
So
back to you, Leslie.
That begs the question, where are they now? And we have been seeing crowds break up as we've been watching police starting to advance and widen the perimeter in terms of the areas that they have cleared.
This is 16th and I that we're looking at here, Larry, where you can see the police are gathered. I'm always struck by what's occurring here. Both, we've got a pandemic. We're at the height of a pandemic in an area where cases are going up. We have people who are clearly not social distancing, people wearing masks, people not wearing masks. And we won't know for a while what the public health implications are of what we're seeing here. But it is clear that the people who have come out to raise their voices have decided that they can't risk doing anything else because, as you say, this is about safety and about survival. This is what people are telling our reporters on the ground.
And it says something about how dire the situation is, that during a health pandemic, a crisis that at this point has claimed the lives of 100,000 plus Americans, that has disproportionately affected Black and brown people.
The very people that they're walking and protesting to advocate on behalf of.
Yeah.
Right.
That they feel the need to come out now. Because even while it's not safe to be out in large numbers, they are compelled to do it because we have reached a point of no return. And
beyond the edge.
Beyond the edge. And that tells you so much about what the climate is and how important this moment is. That while George Floyd has moved on and has moved on to a higher place, that his life will continue, because it was at that moment that he, in his passing and transition and the images that came from that, has really just sparked a different level of rage within people, because now it was just so in your face, it was so blatant that you just could not turn away from it. You couldn't dismiss it any longer.
Bruce, are you still there with us?
Yeah, I'm texting back and forth with DC police. They confirmed there have been people arrested. I'm asking right now if they've got a number, and if arrested people primarily for curfew violations. And I'm asking, what is the plan? Is the plan to arrest everybody who's violating the curfew? Because got to use some discretion. I mean, there's only so much space in the lockup, right? Or, a lot of times in these cases, they don't even take you to the lockup. They'll have you sit on a bus, and then they'll conduct some kind of civil proceeding, where you agree to come back. That sort of thing. If the computer doesn't kick out, that you're wanted for more serious offenses here or elsewhere. So, interesting. This is a fairly large group that's moving right now. Is this live or is this videotape?
This is live, Bruce.
Yeah, this is one of the bigger crowds that we've seen on the move.
And moving nonetheless. It seems like they are, if I had to guess based on the location, moving north. From the park.
I'm trying to figure, is that McPherson Square? Where are we?
That was at one point, that was close to McPherson Square.
That's a good question. If you could tell us in the control room where these pictures are coming from, it would be good to know. So this is 16th and I.
Right, okay.
For some perspective.
And I think if you can count, I see at least 2, maybe 3 people that visibly look like demonstrators that are now have their legs crossed and are sitting down on the ground in front of police. Police have made a circle around them. I'm not sure if they've been arrested. I'm not seeing any type of twist ties or whatever you call it that would go around their arms to apprehend them, but they are sitting there peacefully and together. Do we have Mike Valerio? Do we have Nathan Baca? Okay, if we can work. If we can work on getting them, that would be helpful.
We'll keep talking about what we see here. Again, Bruce, it seems like we're in for a pretty long night.
Yeah, pockets of groups, and there's still daylight out there too. No numbers at this point from police, and that's not surprising.
It's still early, very much so.
If you're just joining us now, you've been watching our continuing coverage of as protests continue in the streets of D.C. Even with a curfew in effect, it's been about almost an hour and a half since the city has issued this curfew that people are supposed to be off the streets. Police are authorized to round up people, and they are indeed doing it. It's been an evening of historic moments, highs and lows, remarkable moments. We've never seen a president leave the White House and walk over to St. John's Church in that way during these kinds of times, at a time of significant unrest and division in the nation. There are some who say that that move alone, the optics of that, created even more division and made it harder for the men and women whose job it is to engage with the public and to find some solutions and a way forward.
It will be interesting to see how this plays out throughout the night. There is the possibility, at least the assumption, that this could potentially incite more violence, more aggressive behavior tonight, seeing the president's actions earlier in the day. But of course, that remains to be seen. But the people that are out there, the demonstrators that have been out there throughout the day, are clear that we have a problem as it relates to the treatment of Black and brown people by police, and that it requires immediate action.
Action, and the way that we get to action starts with listening, with understanding, with consequences. And there have to be action steps to get to action itself. We're going to go to Adiane Detil one last time. Adiane?
Hey, we're going live. Hey there, guys. Can you talk to me about why you are down here lying on the ground at 16th and L Street?
Since we're not allowed to protest, I just need to lie down and think about what's happening to my people.
Have you been protesting every night this week since George Floyd passed away?
Yeah, I have. Peaceful protesting.
What is it going to take for you to feel comfortable ending your protest and going home?
Nothing. Until the police can hold themselves accountable, nothing is going to change.
Okay?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Do you need any water?
I'm okay. I just needed to lie down. This is too much.
I'm going to give you some water.
I have water.
Have you been going around town making sure that protesters are safe?
Are you good, sweetheart?
Yeah, I'm good. Probably.
Okay, ma'am, thank you so much. How long do you think you're going to stay out here tonight lying on the ground?
And I don't, what kind of question is that? I don't know. I don't feel good. My people are dying. Like, no, I'm okay. My people are dying, and like, we're not allowed to protest. We're beef other people in protest. We're not allowed to go anyway. They're blocking us. I'm scared. The only thing I can do is just like lie down and like think.
I hope that you stay safe. I stand with you sitting right here, standing your ground, peacefully protesting. Guys, this is what I have seen throughout the day, not physically lying on the ground, but demonstrations of peaceful protests in the city. That's what I'm seeing. That's the message that I can communicate. Leslie, Larry, back to you.
Thank you so much. A powerful message right there. Let's go to L and 17th, where we have one of our correspondents. Tom Dempsey, if you can give us an update about what you're seeing and where you are, sir.
Yeah, guys, we were actually driving into the city, and it's very quiet on some streets, and then you pull onto this intersection, L and 17th, and we could see the protest coming right at us. A very big crowd of people that's coming through the intersection, and if you look even well beyond, you can just see it looks like the law enforcement now right behind them forming a line, the people moving on up from them. What's been really interesting, kind of a firsthand experience, again, like I said, was driving through these streets of D.C. Like I said, very quiet on some, others blocked off by police, blocked off by law enforcement. We saw DEA agents blocking off some. We saw National Guard officers out blocking some of the streets. And then you pull onto this, and you could see just the crowd of people coming towards us. Again, this is the intersection of L and 17th, and part of our drive-in, we could actually see some of the landmarks the World War II Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument, a part of all this, being guarded by big groups of National Guard officers, by DEA officers, by police, it looked like. That was an interesting and sort of eerie feeling. We could see what looked like a military helicopter flying over the city during our time driving into here, but as soon as that crowd passed in, that lasted about, maybe 5 to 10 minutes kind of going through here. And now it's down the street now. And as you can see behind me, kind of quiet right now. If you want to show down here, they've moved along this street here. We are moving up the street now, and they're probably well beyond there. But just kind of showing how quickly this is changing these streets. You can hear the honking. We heard the chants that we've become so familiar with covering these protests. The hands up, don't shoot chants. We heard those coming on in. The honking for support coming from some of the cars here as well. Just interesting seeing the differences by the street here in the city right now during our drive-in.
Let me ask you a quick question. Compared to what you saw yesterday, and it's still only 8:31 or so, does the crowd look sparse compared to what we saw yesterday? It seems a bit more disorganized today than what we saw Sunday.
We just got in here, on Saturday and Sunday. I was just outside the White House, and we were covering Lafayette Square. This is a bit different with the crowd, with the marching, and this was very peaceful. We did not see anything being thrown, for that matter, when we were out here. We saw one person out of a crowd of hundreds of people just went through here shouting at a police officer. That was one person that we saw. How does that compare to the other days that we've seen? I would say they were all following each other down here. We saw that on Saturday and Sunday. This is kind of going away from it all, the White House. And as far as we heard the same chants and the signs. It's tough to say, though. It was a smaller crowd, this what we just saw right here. But don't underestimate it. There were hundreds of people in that crowd that just came through here. They're all following one another with those signs, with those chants right now going up the street behind me.
And in terms of the direction, in terms of these protesters are they going in a pretty consistent place? Does it look like they're heading north?
Yeah, well, if you want to follow me just over here, what's keeping this, the part of the drive-in that was interesting is you will see this very common sight right now. Some of the roads blocked off by law enforcement, and they seem to be kind of going along. And if you can see where I'm standing here, this is L Street going down here, and even down there it's blocked off by law enforcement. So this does seem to be being sort of, I don't want to say determined by law enforcement, but the presence is clearly, when roads are blocked off, they're not going to be walking down there. And if we look down here, this was the road where the protesters came from about 10 minutes ago. Now we can see a line of law enforcement down there. So they seem to be, traffic is very much impacted by all this, and that seems to be impacting the path of this protest.
Tom Dempsey reporting live from L and 17th. Tom, thank you so much.
And again, you've been watching our coverage of the unrest here after the death of George Floyd, and that video that we saw earlier this week, earlier last week actually. It's hard to believe it's been a week since we entered sort of this new reality as a nation, a duality, right? Mm-hmm. Dealing with both the fallout from police brutality and a pandemic. What we've seen on these streets here and across the nation is really defiance and devastation. This is a pain point that has gone over the edge. And in the midst of this, when you would anticipate that the President of the United States would come out with words of unity, we saw earlier a photo op, essentially. The president leaving the White House, walking over to St. John's Church, a place that he rarely frequents, and certainly not walking, with flanked by his team for the ultimate sort of law and order optics moment. People are still talking about the fact that protesters who were out peacefully, having their voices heard, were tear gassed for this moment so that they could clear the air literally for the president to walk over for this moment. And so you think about this, our hometown and home to official Washington, you know, a place where democracy is supposed to reign, a place where optimism is supposed to live, where protesters are literally deciding to take to the streets to call for change, an end to institutional racism, an end to police brutality, and more to the point that we heard with a small family today talking about their safety and their security. That is what this is all about.
At the root of it all.
At the root of it, that everyone in this nation and in this community should be able to live without fear of dying simply because of who they are. We're going to continue our coverage tonight for my dear colleagues, Larry and Bruce Johnson, and all of us who have been working for days on end to make sure that you are kept informed about what's happening in this city. We will continue to break into coverage tonight for you if it merits it, but you can also watch and follow what happens tonight online on WUSA9.com and on our WUSA9 app.